that way. We look for news that would really confirm the kind of things that we're thinking about. Even though we're looking at the news and we interpret it differently, and that happens a lot when different populations of people live in the same society, and you send out a research or a review to find out what do people think about what happened. And ultimately, we are all in the same country, but different groups of people will interpret the same event very differently. Because we look for information or news source that align with our worldview. People will also interpret news stories in a way that upholds their existing values or ideas. There's also the halo effect during the interview. Now you're interviewing people, you invited all these people to come to your interview for a position, and you have a positive or golden effect on the person or place that can cause a bias. Sometimes we have instant connection with a person because of common abilities or attributes. It might be a basic thing like he speaks Ewe, and I do. Or it might be that, oh, that person went to the same school with me or something. And so we value the same things and interests outside of the work that needs to be done. Now the halo effect on the company might be during an interviewing process. This could result in the wrong person being hired. So here are the things that we need to avoid. And here are the things we need to avoid. Like if someone comes into the room and you're interviewing them, avoid speaking about commonalities and focus on the job requirement. Look for red flags. Sometimes you see that a person was job hopping. They had several jobs within a 6 month period. You need to question the person why there's so much gap in his or her employment record. You should target questions to get answers to support your decisions about the candidate. And do not rank this individual higher than the others. If you see at the end of the day you saw 10 people and maybe this person seems real excitable or stuff like that, don't do that. Wait, and you will see why. Remember that the honeymoon phase will be over very soon after when you present that person to your manager and they found out that the individual cannot even perform the expected tasks that you hired them for. So do the right things and turn the interview into a positive situation. Sometimes it could be the reverse. Like you felt good about this situation and the person met your requirements and everything, and then you celebrate. You celebrated the candidate nails the interview, exhibits positive behavior and interpersonal skills, and high performance. The halo effect also is something that you describe when you had a premonition. Sometimes you met someone before you saw the person. When you saw the person, you knew that this person would fit. Then that's a win-win situation because you trusted your instinct based on the first impression. But please do not do that all the time. The horn effect bias on a company is when you allow one negative impression to influence your decision about someone. This will happen in an interview, and it can also happen in other settings. And I'm thinking about me personally, I watch tennis a lot because our family loves tennis. And in my mind, I decide who are the best tennis players according to their behaviors, If for once they got angry and smashed their rackets or whatever, and it's like, I don't like him, And, I shouldn't do that because everybody has bad days. Tennis is such a high pressure sport that the most humble or the most calm person loses it at some point. If you watch tennis long enough, you will realize that. Anyway, the horn effect bias is the opposite of the halo effect. What if the person has visual or face hair or tattoos or pierced ears or clothes that you think is inappropriate? What if the person speaks negatively about his or her past employer during the interview? Sometimes you can have those situations, like your pet peeve might be people who wear their hair a certain way, or they have tattoos or so on. I think as a potential person working for you, you have to look beyond those things sometimes. On a more positive note, hiring a strong personality might help cure the conflict that's within. That same person that came to you maybe in the first time that you met him, and you talked about, my previous job, the people were just not good or whatever. Maybe he's telling the truth. So we should find a way to try to figure out where this person is coming from. Does this person have other ideas or other skills that you could use in your company? But don't just make a decision according to one event. You should take a gut check to see whether a strong personality will affect the desire to complete his or her job. Some people are just wired that way. They're very opinionated, they always have an opinion about something, or they know how things need to be done. Sometimes we need that person on our team to get things done. But the key here is to manage expectations when you compare what you are experiencing to what you expect. Never make a decision on the person's just by looking at a person's resume. You should give yourself room to back away, and when you think you should proceed, then go ahead and proceed. What if your candidate arrived unprepared, fails to answer the questions adequately, and their body language is not what you expected? Sometimes people arrive for an interview right after something really bad or unexpected happened. So please don't make a decision right away because of the first interaction you may have with a person. You can find a way to find out, is this person normally this way, by asking the right questions. And then maybe invite them back another day for another interview to see how they may appear. And then you compare the two, and then you make a decision. Because when a personality does not match what you expected based on what they said on the resume, either something went wrong that day or something happened. And always trust your instinct. If you feel like this person is really good what they said on the resume, and then you figure out they couldn't have lied or make things better than it is, then invite them back another day, and then try to make your decision after. So you manage your expectations and reduce your bias. It's also similar to confirmation bias, when you look for signs to confirm what your perception or negative view of that situation is about a candidate. Some recruiters made the mistake of hiring based on the stellar resume, like I mentioned before. The decision is based on favoritism sometimes. However, if the candidate then fails the interview, this can result in a poor hire for the position. Ask yourself these questions. Are your expectations realistic? Then you should stop to consider if you have an expectation bias about this candidate, and if so, why? Going back to what I mentioned about, sometimes you expect because of the stellar resume that this person is going to be that, and this, and then they show up. Maybe the person does not know how to interview very well, or the person is not a good test taker, or something. But try to figure out, ask yourself, what is going on here, Don't make your decision right away. Remember, bias kicks in when you have to make a quick decision while filtering through a lot of information. You might have thousands of applicants and you don't know where to start. Remember, think about the last resume that you really loved. Were there any expectations going into the interview? Were there expectations or validations at the conclusion of the interview? If not, remember this experience the next time you have high expectations for a candidate. Now, if you had high expectations for the candidate and they failed the interview, you may want to review and ask yourself, what is it that didn't gel or didn't make sense when this person came in for the interview? Another thing is, don't make emotional decisions. You're always cautioned as a leader. Sometimes this could be difficult when you have to make quick decisions. Because no wonder, because it may affect your plan. You have a deadline. Your boss gave you a deadline. Hey, we need so many people hired by this time because we're losing people more than we're keeping people. So hurry up and bring some people on. But that can, if in effect, be a negative thing for the institution. When a hiring manager allows emotions to drive hiring decisions, there can be both negative and positive effects of the affect bias. Imagine interviewing someone who needed reminded you of a person who you dated in the past. This can happen especially if you're in a agency who's looking for people according to their looks or their fashion or stuff like that. That happens a lot. Or you had an interview with someone that physically reminded you of someone you disliked. Your emotions may quickly kick in, and that might influence your decision making. Stop and think about it. This person demonstrates that they are excited about the opportunity to join your team. There's some people who are naturally bubbly. They walk into a room and they're like the life of the party. You need to figure out if this is what you want in your environment, in the work situation. Your emotions will definitely kick in because you want this new hire to be excited and enthusiastic about your organization. With this in mind, this might give them an edge over other candidates that may come in. The person might be quiet, or there are things called introverts and people who are outgoing, and people who are very quiet and steady. Don't make a decision according to the person who's excitable and so on versus the other person, because you might make the wrong decision and let your emotions determine your decision making. You should also get control of your emotions by doing the following. Step back and slow down. Ask the right questions of yourself and your client. A good way to do so is by exercising the hats. Are you feeling hungry? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling tired? Or are you scared about not getting the right candidate for the position? Never make a quick decision when you are in any of these above emotional states. By recognizing this and dealing with your effect bias, you can always choose the candidate according to their competencies rather than their feelings, rather than your feelings. Conclusion, unconscious bias is a real deal.